Oh, wow. We are.
Hey there.
Hello, David.
Hi. We're live.
We are live, I hear.
Welcome. I'm David Gordon, CEO and co-founder of evanhealy. Today I'm talking to Gifty Serbeh-Dunn. Gifty is the president of the Shea Butter market. She grew up in Ghana in West Africa at the heart of what could be called the global shea butter capital. Her story traces her journey to Canada, her recognition of shea butter's then little known qualities in the West, and her subsequent development of a business that both impacts North American consumers with a wonderful product, as well as provides economic sustenance to the women of a small village in northern Ghana. Gifty, thank you so much for joining us today. I know everyone is so excited to hear about your journey. I still remember when Evan and I met you in a Whole Foods market in Toronto, and I think it was 2006. So, hi.
I think so too. I think it was 2006. And thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor. Our partnership has been really wonderful since 2006. And I remember vividly when we met. You and Evan, you had lots of questions for me. And I remember when you sent me your first order, how exciting that was. And so it's been a long partnership, and we pray that it continues for a very long time as well.
Well, you know that we're doing so much together, and Wayne, your husband, is in Ghana so often in the village of Wa and working with the community, and we're doing more and more there. So just, if you don't mind, just tell us a little more about the journey and how you became our shea butter steward.
Yeah, well, it's a long story. I will try to keep it, abbreviated. I'll give you the abbreviated version. I was invited to Canada by some family friends of ours, and when I was here, this was in 1981. There was a coup in Ghana, and long story, my family ended up arranging for me to remain in Canada. Anyway, so I always, after I went to school in Ottawa, graduated, always wanted to go home. I always wanted to go to Ghana. I didn't want to live in Canada, but somehow the universe arranged that I would stay in Canada, and I ended up meeting Wayne. We got married. We came to the West Coast. Wayne had never been to Africa actually, so I brought him to Ghana. He loved it and ended up doing a lot of work there. He was doing some work for um, the World Bank and a few other international organizations. So we got to go to Ghana often. And every time we went, I brought staff, lots of staff for the women in my home. And then one year when we went, before I left, you've been and you know how it is. Everybody, we gather and we meet and we visit. And so in my visit to say goodbye, I asked the um, elders, I asked the women in the circle what to bring next time I come. And they said, bring nothing. And I thought, oh my goodness, are you serious? I've been bringing so much stuff. What do you mean by bring nothing? And then in my mind, I remember all the studies I had done. My interest was always in women in development. And I thought, bring nothing. And then, in the pause, one of the elders said, we just want to work. And I said, well, but you all work. And they said, well, we really don't make much for all the hard work that we do. And my older sister was with me was there present. And I said to her after they all left, what do they mean by they want to work and they're implying I will give them work? It's impossible. They have no idea where I live. Like Mill Bay, British Columbia, and Ghana, it's not gonna happen. But I came back to Canada and that tape played in my mind over and over because women in development. And we want to give women the opportunity to lift themselves out of poverty. And yeah, I studied all that, but I was bringing stuff. You know, it was easier for me to bring stuff. So that sat with me a long time. And one day I was watching TV and I saw that one of the big companies, I think it was Nivea, had mentioned shea butter. And I thought, oh my God, shea butter? They have shea butter. Wow, all those women, shea butter, the women make shea butter. Anyway, I got very excited about it and I talked to Wayne and I said, hey, what if I bring shea butter and sell it here? And Wayne, being the business mind in our family, the wheels started to go as to how that could happen. He said, yeah, look into it. Anyway, I did look into it and I spoke to my dad about doing some, bringing shea butter to North America. And he was always, 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 always supportive. Everybody in the family was supportive. And my eldest sister talked to the women and they were all very excited. But it wasn't long after the idea was percolating, a friend of ours who actually was a Peace Corps volunteer, had lived with us when he volunteered in Ghana, happened to be in my home. He was doing work with the USAID, helping women, small businesses. And my dad, when I happened to call, and my father said, "Oh, talk to Greg. He's here. Gifty wants to do shea butter." So anyway, Greg and I got on the phone, and I explained a little bit of what I was hoping to do. And he mentioned the village where he had been he had done volunteer work when he was a Peace Corps volunteer. And the village is called Tapo and is way outside of Wa. And he said, the women, they make the best shea butter and it's a widows group. So I know he said, all the women need help, but I think the widows need the most help. So if you're going to do something, start with them. So then the question was, oh, what am I going to do? I've already promised the women in WA this project, and now he's introduced this idea. What do I do? And my father said, oh, when you come home, we'll discuss. So the following summer, I was home and we had this gathering. And I explained to the women, I said I wanted to go and meet with the village in Topo and see what the opportunities might be. But then I didn't think that I had the capacity to help them as well. And one of them, the bunch of them piped up and said, oh, no big deal. We'll wait. It's a good idea for you to go to Poor Village and talk to the widows group. And that was so inspiring because I expected them to resist a little bit because they were the first. And now I was introducing this. And one of them, actually, one of the cousins in the group ended up traveling. And my sister, my older sister, and I and her, Lamisi, we went to Tapo Village and met with the chief. Turned out the chief's wife was also a distant cousin, and she was coordinating the widows group. So that's how I got started. Bringing a little bit of, I was going to buy a little bit of shea butter. I ended up buying a whole lot of shea butter and got it here. And I was selling a kilo at a time. And Wayne said, there's no way you're going to be able to make a difference selling a kilo at a time. I think you need to rethink your business model. So I decided, he said, you know what? Most people are not making stuff. So through another friend, I met a distributor in Vancouver and I launched a product line. And that's how I ended up in Whole Foods because they had the product in Whole Foods. But the concept, the idea for me was that I would create work for the women. So this wasn't about just my business. And I explained this to the distributor because when I first started, I was selling a kilo here, a kilo there to some customers who were super, super supportive. And when they saw that I had launched a product line, they were all concerned. They kept saying, well, are we ever going to be able to get shea butter? And I said, of course, I'm going to keep the wholesale going because our objective is to sell as much shea butter as possible. And I didn't have that big a market to fulfill, to keep all the women working. So I will keep the wholesale part, and for those who were interested in buying bulk shea butter, I will sell to them. And for those who were looking for products, so I was trying to do everything. And over the years, it turned out I just couldn't. I couldn't do both, and that's how Wayne stepped in and saw that he could take care of the bulk shea butter part of the business, and I could continue playing with my products. And anyway, then the women in Tokyo was a widows group, and a lot of them a bit elderly, and they weren't that keen, or they couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep up with the work that we were doing. So we had a conversation with the chief there and with the chief of Kperisi, and we decided to migrate to Kperisi. So continue to support the widows group in whatever ways they saw fit. But for the bulk of the work, we came to Kperisi, which is very close to why, easier to transport our shea butter from there. The women are much younger and more dynamic. And that's the village that you went to
Yeah.
when you were in Ghana. So
Yeah.
that's how we ended up there. I told you it was going to be a long story.
Well, we're only beginning. Um, there's a couple things that occur to me. One is, at times you've talked about being in your kitchen, whipping up shea butter and adding essential oils to it.
Yeah, yes.
Well, and what was, funny about that is on a parallel track, Evan is in her kitchen in 2005 and 2006, working with shea butter from East Africa at the time, putting in and trying to whip it up. And I remember her meeting with you, and I remember her coming away, saying this in your voice: is shea butter does not like heat.
Yes.
And that was one of the breakthroughs that she had in developing one of the many breakthroughs that she had in developing, part of our product line. So
right,
one of the little secrets that you gave her.
Evan often tells me about that. So that was a turning point, and so that's great.
Yeah, made a much better product. And the other thing is that I just want to explore with you is, if you don't mind, tell us about the number of women in the village, and tell us a little bit about the process that they go through in making the shea butter for us.
Yeah, as you saw for yourselves, shea butter work is very labor intensive. It's not a one woman job. It's usually a community affair. So in the village of Kperisi, we have, I believe, 144, if not 200 women in that village. But we've since expanded, and we have women in 5 other communities that are working with us. And what they do is they pick the shea seeds for us. So what was happening in Kperisi was that the women were picking the seeds, making, sorting them, drying them. It was just a lot of work. So as our demand grew, we figured it was just too tasking for them. And they even said that, it's a lot of work. We can't keep up. Can we look at ways in which we can expand? And Wayne came up with that idea. There must be. And because we also do organics, our shea butter is organically certified, we can't just pick seeds any and everywhere. So we went past Kperisi and found several villages, and we've had an agreement with them where they just pick the seeds and sort and bring to the women in Kperisi. So I say about 500 women involved in the whole process. And at times we've actually had to go even in communities close to Wa to buy, to work with additional groups. So we have our existing group, which is the core group, is the Kperisi group, I say about 200, and then all the other villages that are involved. But I can't say with certainty that it's 500, but it's about, it's getting up there in that. And that's work that we need to do on the numbers. So Wayne probably has that. I'm the generalist here.
Well, it's great. It's grown over the years, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
wonderful for us to be part of it. Um, when we were there, they demonstrated and we followed the process over several days of, starting with the nut, roasting the nuts and whipping it. And in my understanding, if I could keep up, it seemed the whole process took 3 days. Is that true?
it does, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah, if no more, because there's the sorting the seeds, picking out the ones that are not great, and drying and crushing, grinding. We were with your help. We got them the roasters. There's the roasting process, and also with your help, we got the facility where they store the seeds. So that's all made the process a lot better because they have a place now that they can warehouse once they sort their seeds. They warehouse everything there, and they've got the grinding mill, they've got the roasters. When they didn't have the roasters, they used to just roast the seeds in the big pans. You saw those big pans, and it was really not the best work, in that they were getting smoke in their eyes. It was really terrible. So the roasters have made a huge difference. But 3 to 4 days of work is what is involved in making shea butter. And as I said, it's a communal affair. All the women come together and work together, especially when they have to crush the seeds. That takes 3, 4 women at a mortar with pestles. And yeah, it's very labor intensive.
It's my understanding that the women are driving the financial sustainability of the community. Do I understand that correctly?
For sure, for sure. The women are incredibly hardworking. And as they said to me at the beginning, it's not the same group of women. Some of those women who talked to me in the beginning are part of this group as well. But they always they said, we make nothing for the work that we do. And it's true that they didn't make much with our work and our partnership with them. Now they are financially doing well. So, what happens with having that financial stability? It allows them during the farming season, agricultural season, they can go and work on their farms. So they pocket their money, they save. We're working with them to save money. So when they're not doing shea butter, they're growing food. They're able to do that. They don't have to make scratch and go sit on the market to sell a little bit of shea butter.
Yeah.
And we know, I mean, a lot of them said to me, the reason why you're able to help us is because look at you, you went to school. We want the same thing for our children. They see education as the way out of poverty. And we know that with structural adjustment policies of the 80s, a lot of people in these communities could not afford to pay for children's school fees, school uniforms. Now you got to pay for everything. And they weren't part of the formal economy. They are actually they used to be classified as members of the informal economy. But with the work we're doing with them, they're now part of the formal economy. They can pay for school fees, and they can pay to go to the health clinic if they need to. And I also remember the big celebration in the village when you paid for them, evanhealy's school uniforms. That was quite
Yes, that
fun.
was.
That was so good.
I have to interrupt you to say, we went there with a couple of people, Rebecca Tucker and Kim O'Leary, I remember in particular. And that when in the village, all the young kids
Yes.
would rush up to them and take their hands, and they'd be walking along. And in my mind, the women who had been working really hard were taking a break under the tree, and Kim and Rebecca, maybe among others, were walking with all the kids, and then the women resting under the tree. I remember yelling, "Take them all! Take them all!" But it was so much pride that we were able to get the school uniforms for them.
Yes. Well, and what I remember about the school uniforms, which was really important, is that initially it was going to be uniforms for the women in the group, the producers' children. And then I don't know, conversations went on and they came back and said, well, it'd be really nice to do more than that. And you were so generous and paid for uniforms for the whole village. Like every school
Yeah.
kid got a uniform. They still talk about that to this day.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's so much pride that we have just to be in some small way a part of what you're doing and what the community does, because we see over and over that when we connect, with what we like to call stewards of the earth, it just puts us right there in the earth, in the soul of what life is, and connecting that, the earth, Mother Earth, and all that she bestows on us to ourselves through these products. This is really what we take so much pride in. And so we're just so, happy to be part of what you're doing. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We're fortunate. We're fortunate to have really good partners such as you, and it makes a difference. And what is exciting for me is that you did see it. You were right there. You can relate to some of the stories I tell about growing up in WA and working with the women and the women's hard work. That is just amazing what they do. And yes, they sustain the communities. The first educator in Ghana said, if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. If you educate a boy, if you educate a man, you educate one person. And you can see, and the women understand that, because of patriarchy in our community, it's used to be that when resources were scarce, boys went to school and girls didn't,
Yeah.
and girls stay close to home to look after families. So, boys stay close to home to take care of them. They say, well, we're going to marry our girls off. So why are we going to pay all that money and then we're going to send them off? But now, with enough resources in the community, especially financial resources, both boys and girls get to go to school. And you saw in the uniforms and all that stuff. So to me, that is the most exciting thing. And it was really interesting when they always pointed out that I'm able to come home and make a difference because I got an education.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And I always say, if I hadn't gone to university in Canada, if I hadn't remained in Canada, I don't think that I would have had the opportunity to be making this kind of a difference. So the fact that I always wanted to be home and didn't get to be home, it's all now very clear to me why I'm here. Uh, Being here is making such a huge difference. I couldn't possibly have been doing a lot of what we're doing now had I gone back to Ghana.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gives me an appreciation for the way my journey turned out, and for what I've been able to get for Canada, for being in Canada. It's been very good.
Yeah, well, and it's had a great impact for our business, which of course is centered in the United States out of San Diego, although we started it in Toronto in Canada. So it's made a big impact for us. I know that what we're doing now, with youth, and Wayne, in terms of, Wayne, of course, being, a professor of corporate social responsibility at McGill for many years, and I believe he's now retired from that. Is so aware of how, of UNESCO and the protocols of sustainability. And we see how everything, you guys are doing in the village to complete the circle of sustainability is something that inspires us. And, our customers want to know about that. They want to participate in making a world a better place. So that inspires us. And we're, working more closely with you guys to see how we can take those protocols and procedures of sustainability thought right through from beginning to end, so there is no waste. And not only do that with shea butter, but do that with everything we're doing. And I want to be clear, we're not doing it with everything. We're moving in that direction of having a company that is more and more sustainable.
Yeah. Well, I tell people the story about when the women are doing well, nobody's going to cut down a shade tree. not in front of them, they're just not going to have it. So that's it. Some of the small practical ways in which they take care of the environment. I don't know if you were there in the rainy season. You were probably there in the dry season.
It was January.
It was January, so it was a dry season. But when you go in the rainy season, they've got gardens everywhere. They plant everything. It's just amazing what they do, and take care of the trees. And they, as you saw, sitting under the trees. They're sitting under the trees. That's really the corporate boardrooms in the village, right? It's under the tree. Everybody's under the tree. You go last 2 summers ago when I was home, the elder, who is the elder of the group, she was in her house, and I went to the village. I went to say hello. I was chatting with all the women. They said, "Oh, she's in her house." So I went in to say hello to her and said hello to her, and she said to me, "Let's go out." She was in there resting, but I'd come to say hello. And she said, "Well, let's go outside." And we went under the tree. That's where you go. Trees play a huge, very big, important role in the culture, in the way things happen. And a lot of people ask me, well, we hear that there's the deforestation in northern. There is other things to do, like we see in Topo.
Gifty.
In Kperisi Village. Oh, what's going on?
I think we just there you
My
were.
connection is,
Yeah, the connection wasn't just good for the
yeah,
last half minute or so. So
like,
I think so. We
yeah.
did miss that. But I think just
Oh, okay.
what you were talking about, visiting with one of the elders, and then sitting outside under a tree, makes
Yes,
me think of traditions out of India, sitting under the banyan tree with the master and disciple. It's to me, it's
right,
it's an eternal symbol or cultural symbol of transferring knowledge and
right,
bringing yourself
right.
to it. So it strikes a real deep chord.
Yeah, great.
Well, I'm tempted to ask one more question, if you don't mind.
Certainly, certainly, I don't mind at all.
What you do and what, the women in the village do, Parisi, and taking so much care and time in, preparing the shea butter, is that process the same or different than what is done in preparing shea butter when it's commercially handled?
Sorry, David, I missed the last half of the question. The
I was
connection went
I
funny.
was just probing and asking when
Yeah,
companies who prepare shea butter commercially do it. Is it the same
yeah.
process as what the women do in the village?
No, no. Very, very different. Again, huge industrial processes are so different. And just from the basic love and care that goes, it's not a mechanical process. When the women make shea butter, it's not about time and all those things that go into running a factory. And I have had customers say to me, we actually feel the love in the shea butter. There's singing, there's it's a lot of work, it's hard work, but there's the camaraderie and there's the unity that goes into making the traditional shea butter. There's the joy that comes into it. I haven't seen the factory processes, but Wayne has, and Wayne tells me it is so different. It's just unbelievable. And I can only imagine that in the factory, it's a big vat. We put the stuff in, we move it, we press a button, we move it. There is not this singing, this togetherness. It's about, I guess, strictly about efficiency. And even though efficiency plays a role in what the women do, it's not top of mind. It doesn't influence everything. And it's not about profit for the women either. It's about the love of bringing something. I mean, It's something that they eat. We eat the shea butter. When they're making it, it's like they're making you a meal. And the kind of joy and love that goes into creating that is totally different from how it's commercially made.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and in the commercial processes too, there are chemicals that are used. And in what the women do, no, they don't even know chemicals. If you showed it to them, they would have no interest. These are the knowledge has been passed down from generation to generation, and yeah, very, very different.
Now, was shea butter simultaneously used as food and to prepare food with, as well as being a treatment for skin? Has it
Yes.
always been for both?
Yes, it's always been for both. If you can eat it, I mean, if you can eat it, you should be able to put it on your skin concept.
Yeah.
Is used head to toe. And when the baby is first, when the baby is born, or when babies are born, the first bath, after the first bath, you get a shea butter massage first thing. So I know that, and even, now lots of women have their babies in the hospital. They'll come with their little jar of shea butter or their little calabash of shea butter. I know when I was born in a hospital, but they had some shea butter there for my, for my first bath and massage. Everybody in Northern Ghana is part of our tradition.
Yeah.
You start off with shea butter. Yeah, and then when the baby's navels, when your navel is healing, that's what they use. They put shea butter in there to heal the small wounds, and shea butter used for cooking. So there's the shea butter for the skin that's in a special calabash in a basket, and then shea butter that's used for cooking in a different uh, basket. Yeah.
Well, what you've explained and what I saw there and learned is it's just always been part of the culture, and it has diversity of uses.
Yes.
And
Yes.
skin is where we've picked up and we use it because of its wonderful healing property.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything in looking forward? Is there anything in looking forward to the new year or holiday, or what's happening, where your vision is for the community that you want to share in closing?
Well, I'm so looking forward to going to Ghana sometime and seeing what Wayne is doing, putting stuff in place. I hear every day when I speak to him, and my sisters are involved, my cousins, my aunties. So that's the other thing. These are the women who are making the shea butter. These are my relations. They are my relations, and they I always said to them, this is a partnership. What I ask of you is that you make the very best shea butter for us and that you don't disappoint. That's all I ask. And they say, oh, that's a small ask. We're going to do that. And that they ask that we continue to work with them. And so it's been a very beautiful partnership in that sense. And it means a great deal to me that my relations are involved in my work. And so I look forward to when I can go back and see all the work that's been done in my absence. And I so look forward to a better year next year. I think everybody else is same for most people in the world. And I'm very hopeful. I feel hopeful for what lies ahead. And I always pray that we have good health and long life to continue this work. Yeah.
Well, that's such a very sweet sentiment. I don't think there could be a better ending. So I just, thank you so much. I know that our, team here in Carlsbad who works with the product takes so much pride in it and feels the love. And I know that our customers often write to us about the love they feel in our products. And I do think it's very real. So, I wish you the best for the new year, and Wayne as well. And I think everybody here, still remembers when you and Wayne visited, I think it was 3 years ago. So we look forward to you coming back, and we look forward to going to Ghana again.
Thank you very much. And I look forward to coming back to see you in San Diego. And my very best to all your team. That was the best visit. It was so warm. It felt really like going to Ghana. I have to say, it was really wonderful. And I look forward to coming and seeing you there again. And
Thank you.
maybe going to Ghana with you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Super. Thank you. And thank you for your partnership.
All right. Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.